The cafeteria was buzzing with noisy clinking trays, impatient voices, and the low hum of lunchtime chatter. But in the corner, at the end of the line, stood a man who didn't seem to fit in at all. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face that carried both strength and sorrow. His clothes were simple, a little too worn for the flashy corporate headquarters he now worked in. Some people called him the janitor who never smiled. Others simply ignored him altogether. His name was Jack. A single dad. A veteran. And a man everyone underestimated. Jack's journey from the battlefield to this office cafeteria hadn't been easy. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him with a daughter, Lily, barely old enough to hold a spoon. He promised himself that no matter how tough life became, he would raise her with kindness, dignity, and hope. But not everyone saw him that way. That afternoon, while balancing the tray of soup and bread, Jack overheard a group of younger employees laughing behind him. "Look at him," one snickered. "Guy's probably never been to college. Bet he only got this job because of pity. Single dad? More like single failure," another whispered. Jack didn't flinch. He had been through worse bullets, bombs, betrayal. Words didn't wound him the same way anymore. Still, his daughter's smile later that evening was the only balm that healed the sting of their cruelty. What Jack didn't know was that life was about to hand him a memento, one single, strange, and unforgettable memento that would change how everyone saw him forever. A week later, the company held its annual charity fair. Employees set up booths, games, and contests to raise money for children's hospitals. The highlight of the day? A friendly archery competition. It was supposed to be just a fun attraction: a bow, some arrows, and a target set up on the lawn. Whoever hit the bullseye closest won. People lined up, laughing, cheering, showing off in front of their friends. That's when it happened. Jack had only stopped by to watch. Lily tugged at his sleeve, eyes sparkling. "Daddy, can you try? Please." He hesitated. No one there had any idea about his past. About the medals stored in an old shoebox in his closet. About the years he had trained with a bow so precisely that he could split an arrow with another arrow from 50 yards away. "Come on, Jack." One of the employees sneered. "Let's see if the janitor can even hold the bow the right way." The crowd laughed. Lily frowned and clutched her dad's hand tighter. Jack looked down at his daughter, then back at the target. Something inside him shifted. He didn't care about proving them wrong, but he cared about showing Lily that you never bow your head to mockery. He stepped forward. The laughter quieted a little. People exchanged smirks, waiting for him to embarrass himself. Jack picked up the bow, tested the string, and felt a long-forgotten calm wash over him. His breathing slowed. The world fell silent. He drew the arrow back. Thrum. It flew straight, slicing the air with surgical precision. The arrow buried itself dead center into the bullseye. The crowd gasped. "Beginner's luck," someone muttered. Jack knocked the second arrow. Drew. Released. Thrum. The second arrow slammed into the first, splitting it in half. A perfect Robin Hood shot. The lawn went silent. Then erupted in cheers. And among those watching from the VIP tent was Claire Reynolds, the company's CEO. She was known for her sharp mind, her even sharper intuition, and the fact that she never missed a detail. She hadn't been laughing at Jack earlier. She had simply been observing, quietly curious. And now, watching him stand tall with a bow in his hands, she saw something no one else did. Courage. Discipline. Grace under pressure. After the competition, when people swarmed Jack with questions, Claire walked over herself. "That was remarkable," she said warmly. Jack shrugged. "Just something I picked up a long time ago." "Not something," Claire corrected. "That was mastery. And you carried yourself with more dignity under pressure than most of my executives." Jack smiled faintly, but his attention quickly returned to Lily, who was proudly clapping for him. Claire noticed. The tenderness in his eyes when he looked at his daughter was something she couldn't ignore. It wasn't just his skill that caught her attention, it was his humanity. The story of Jack's performance spread like wildfire through the company. Overnight, he wasn't just the janitor. He was the veteran, the archer, the single father who stunned everyone. And for the first time, people looked at him differently. Some employees approached him with respect. Others apologized for their earlier cruelty. But the most surprising part came a week later when Claire invited him to her office. Jack assumed it was about the fair. Maybe even a thank you. But instead, she leaned forward across her desk and said, "I want to offer you a new position. Head of Team Building and Resilience Training. You have skills that no MBA could ever teach." Jack was stunned. "Yeah, broken bar, I'm just trying to provide for my daughter." "And you will," Claire said. "This role will give you a better salary, a better schedule. But more than that, you'll show others what true strength looks like. You've already shown me." Jack thought about it. About his daughter's future. About the respect he'd finally earned not by bragging, but simply by being himself. He accepted. The months that followed were a turning point. Jack became a mentor to many within the company, leading archery workshops, resilience seminars, and even quiet one-on-one talks with employees who struggled with stress. People admired him not just for his skills, but for the way he listened, encouraged, and guided without judgment. And as for Claire, well, she found herself more and more drawn to the man behind the bow. It wasn't the archery that caught her heart. It was the way he carried his daughter on his shoulders after every workshop. The way he stayed late to help others, even when he didn't have to. The way he led not through authority, but through compassion. One evening, after a long training session, she finally admitted it. "You know, Jack," she said softly, "the first time I saw you, I thought you were different. But I didn't realize how much I'd admire you until now." Jack chuckled, a little shy. "Admire me? I'm just a dad trying to make things work." "And that," Claire replied, her eyes warm, "is exactly why you're remarkable." The laughter that once mocked Jack had long faded. What replaced it was respect, admiration, and an unexpectedly love. He had walked into the company as an invisible man. But through patience, humility, and one extraordinary act, he left an imprint no one would ever forget. The lesson: never underestimate someone just because of their circumstances. Kindness, resilience, and quiet strength often hide behind the most ordinary appearances. And sometimes, when the world laughs at you a broken bar, the best answer is simply to show them who you really are. Where once people laughed behind Jack's back, now they leaned forward when he spoke. The single dad veteran had gone from invisible to unforgettably, but life wasn't finished testing him yet. One crisp autumn morning, Jack arrived at the office early, Lily skipping beside him with her backpack. He had promised her breakfast before school in the cafeteria. But as they walked in, they overheard voices again, and not mocking this time, but panicked. The company's charity fundraiser, scheduled for that weekend, had just lost its main attraction. A sports celebrity had cancelled last minute. Without a big draw, donations for the children's hospital would collapse. Claire, the CEO, was at the center of the commotion, trying to keep everyone calm. Jack stood at the edge, listening. Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy," she whispered, "you could help. You don't need a celebrity." Jack hesitated. He wasn't a showman. He was a soldier, a father. But when he saw the worry in Claire's face, something stirred inside him again, of the same quiet duty that once carried him through the battlefield. That weekend, when the event began, the stage lights weren't shining on an athlete or an actor. They shone on Jack standing tall with a bow in hand, his daughter smiling proudly in the front row. He didn't just shoot targets this time. He told stories about patience, about focus, about never giving up no matter how heavy life's weight becomes. Each arrow he loosed wasn't just a display of skill, it was a lesson in resilience. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word, every shot. And when his final arrow split a candle in half at 30 yards, the audience erupted. Donations poured in more than any year before. And in the middle of it all, Claire's eyes weren't on the money, the applause, or even the headlines. They were on Jack. On the man who turned ridicule into respect, and pain into purpose. Later, when the night quieted and the crowd dispersed, she approached him again. "You saved the event," she said softly. "You saved more than that, actually. You reminded us what leadership really looks like." Jack smiled, shaking his head. "All I did was shoot a few arrows." "No," Claire said, stepping closer, her voice steady. "You showed us heart. That's rarer than anything." For a long moment, their eyes locked. Two very different worlds, an office tower and a battlefield, a CEO and a single. Yet somehow, they no longer felt so far apart.